Great dude, great Airbnb guest. His ex-girlfriend hunted him down on Snapchat maps or something. Like she found him somehow. She started beating him up in front of the camera outside of the house.
What?
And
welcome to the Golden Nuggets of Real Estate Investing, a podcast dedicated to helping you achieve financial freedom through real estate. We'll be discussing the most important lessons, or better known as the Golden Nuggets of Real Estate Investing, entrepreneurship, and personal finance with new and experienced investors to help you get into real estate investing or scale up your portfolio. So make sure to tune in. What's going on, everyone? It's Ross Nadai. I'm a real estate agent, an investor, and host of the Real Estate Golden Nuggets podcast. I have an amazing episode full of golden nuggets for you. If you like this podcast and gotten any value out of it, please share this far and wide to reach as many people as possible. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on the most recent episodes. Thank you so much for your support. What's going on, everyone? It's Ross Nadai, host of the Golden Nuggets podcast. Today, I have my special guest, James Fernandez, who's a real estate investor from London, Ontario. And what I love about James' story is that he has multiple strategies of investment. So he has some buy and holds, rentals, and of course, short-term rentals, such as Airbnb. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to James, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his background and what his portfolio currently looks like. So go ahead, please.
sounds good. Hey, thanks for having me, Ross. Appreciate it. And very nice to meet you as well. My name is James. I have been real estate investing seriously, I guess, for about 11 months, maybe about a year. My first rental property was February 2020. And
Wow.
Prior to that, it was just doing a little bit of research and doing a secondary dwelling conversion in a property that I was just living in. My background, formerly trained as a mechanical engineer, and I work still full-time as an engineer. And I started real estate investing because I wanted to buy a Tesla and I couldn't afford it. So I needed to find passive income or other income in general to try and pay for the car. And Tesla got me real estate investing. So
That's awesome.
Outside of real estate investing, I love eating mainly and cooking occasionally whenever I have time. And I love traveling. So I'm looking forward to creating a passive income stream that will allow me to do so once our borders open up again.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. So we're all looking for financial freedom. And I guess you mentioned a couple of things, which I love about it. It's just that you need to have a goal. And for your first goal was getting a Tesla. And that motivated you to get into real estate investment. And of course, you got there. You have your Tesla and you have multiple buildings under you. So which is awesome, man. It was like a single family, you said, and you converted to, I guess, legal duplexes, I can say?
It's called a secondary dwelling conversion here in London, Ontario, where I'm at. It's essentially a duplex with some small little differences here and there, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially it's 2 units, like 2 kitchens, 2 bathrooms, like 2 separate, whatever. So, I went to ONREIA 2019, and that was hosted by Jeff Weibo and Matt McKeever. And that was when I was just like, kind of still learning. So at that point, I still didn't know what Bigger Pockets was, by the way.
Right.
Like I didn't know anything about anything. I just got kind of dragged to this conference by a friend of mine, and I didn't even want to go or pay the like $200. I was like, that's a waste of money. Like, what the hell? and now looking back, it's like, Jesus Christ, that was such a good spend. Because I left that place thinking of all these different ways to make money without trading time. And that was really, really impactful. So like Sunday night after the conference ended, it was Saturday, Sunday. I went home, looked around my house. I was like, I'm using 10% of my house. I go from the bedroom to the kitchen, and I eat at the kitchen island. Like I don't even eat at a dining room table. I eat at the kitchen island. I don't really watch TV. And so my TV, my couch, my like the whole living room, the other bedroom, the entire basement, it's not being used. What the hell?
Right.
So I took all my stuff and like garbage bag and boxes and whatever. I just moved all my personal belongings downstairs to the basement. And then I listed my property on Airbnb immediately. And so that was like Tuesday night. And then Thursday, I already had a booking, which was like extremely scary because I didn't have any of the sheets or the towels or the soaps and like little decorations. I didn't have any of that shit, and they were coming on Friday. So like all basically late Thursday night, all Friday, I just like did all the typical Airbnb stuff, and I straight up told the guests, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So if anything's wrong, like please let me know, but like rate me 5 stars. So yeah, that's how I started, I guess. Refied the property, and that allowed me to pull out 125 grand after refi, like a cash out refi type of thing.
Beautiful.
And I used that income to buy other properties, which I just repeat, the R in BRRRR.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, so just so for people to understand, where the money came from, can you give us a like breakdown? So again, what was the purchase price? What was the renos? And then, what was the after repair value? And of course, the refi.
Sounds good. Yeah. So this property that I'm sitting in right now, I'm sitting in that basement apartment. Mm-hmm. So it was my first time. I was living in my mom's basement. I just wanted a place. I put 5% down on $245,000. So that's $12,500 roughly.
Right.
13 grand. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then plus other random clothes. So like 15 grand. Let's just say 15. That's what I had saved up, and that's what I basically had to put into the house. It was a little bit of time before I realized like what this refi type of thing is and all these renovations and everything like that. So by that time I had lines of credit. They were empty. I just had them because I was like, maybe I'll need them. But I ended up using unsecured lines of credit to pay for the renovations that I did. Income upstairs on the Airbnb is about 2,000 net a month after expenses. And the refi came in at 425. So
wow,
245 purchase price, about 40,000, let's just say in renos. That's a little high. But I did all the work myself. 40,000 roughly in renos.
Wow.
And what else? Holding costs. I was living here. I didn't really take that into account. Let's just say 20 grand in holding. That's like kind of outrageous.
Yeah.
But,
even with that,
it's exactly like I'm just kind of being outrageous there, but let's just say so 305 all in, and then 425 ARV. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty healthy refi. So you get 80% of that 425, right? So
right, all that within how long and how many months?
It took me a while because I did all the work myself. So that's actually one recommendation that I would give is get your hands dirty and learn how to do it a little bit, like so you understand and appreciate and value the work. Mm-hmm. But then after that, don't ever do it again because it's too slow. It took me about 6 months, 7 months maybe.
Yeah,
mind you, every day.
You were working full time at the same time, so it was like you were putting a lot of hours, I would imagine.
My life was miserable, man. Like I literally like work all day, and sometimes overtime too. Like we're busy,
right?
And then come home, change into like my reno clothes, and then work and go to sleep late, wake up early, do it again, and like I left my like the one bedroom in the back corner. That was like the sanctuary where there's no dust, no like dirt or no anything, but everything else was like torn apart. Like I did the drywall, all the walls, like it's muddy and messy and like dusty and shitty. But then I switched it, right? So I had to do the bedroom. So I lived out here in the living room for a little bit. With like my friggin' work boots as my slippers getting out of bed in the morning, and it's just like nails everywhere and whatever else. So do what you have to do.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal story. Yeah, because I've been through that myself. Like we went through renovations, and this was like my parents' home. We kind of bought like a fixer upper, and oh man, I do not recommend living in it and doing renos.
Living in construction's the worst. Man. It's like literally soul crushing.
Yes,
there's nothing clean ever.
It took basically I wasted the entire summer. Let's put it that way. I couldn't leave the house because I was helping with renos, right? And I get, believe me, if you were to rip my body open, it was full of dust. Like there's nothing in there but dust.
I remember like, oh my God, I wake up in the morning and I like go like blow my nose and it's just like stuff coming out. I'm like, fuck, I'm breathing this all day, every day. Like,
that's what I mean. It's not the healthiest option. Yeah. So if you have an option to go get it done professionally, please do so.
Especially because like Now, if a unit is renovated in like a couple of weeks,
right,
it's pretty fantastic. So
yeah,
6 months versus
yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is yes, definitely. On one hand, it's great to get your hands dirty and learn the process and value the trades. On the other hand, if it's going to take you say 6 months and you can pay somebody say, I don't know, $10,000 and they can do it in a month, guess what? The opportunity cost is better because you can turn around and put it in the market, right? And you make your money.
That's exactly
much quicker.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
without
exactly
having to inhale all that dust.
That's exactly it. So yeah, I always would recommend for people just starting out, like get your hands a little bit dirty and like understand and appreciate it.
Right.
And now I know like it takes roughly like 2 hours to build a bulkhead around really odd things. Mm-hmm. And then I know like when talking to contractors, if they come in and they give you a quote and you're working with 5/8 thick drywall, which is like heavy, thick fire rated drywall.
Right.
And their quote is the same for that as it is for 1/2-inch drywall. They probably don't know what they're doing. It's hard to work with. It's heavy, it's big, it dulls the materials faster, or like tools faster, everything like that. So if their quote isn't slightly higher, like it shouldn't be crazy higher, but if it isn't slightly higher, or if they don't like mention, hey, this is harder to work with, it might take us a little bit longer.
Right.
They probably don't, they haven't felt that pain, you know, so they probably don't know.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good tip. And then so going back on what you're saying, so what was the next step for you? So you got this house, you mm-hmm. house hacked it basically, which is mm-hmm. for folks that don't understand what that means, it's just like James described it. He basically rented one of the units and lived in the other one. So he was basically living for free, reduced his cost of living, and he was making money upstairs, which carried the cost of, you know, all the insurance, the mortgage, and so forth. So, which is a phenomenal way, because I think the figure was what 50 to 40% of average household income goes to just shelter, which is phenomenal, right? So if you can reduce that to minimize it or even get to zero, you're laughing, right? That's a huge amount of money you're saving per month.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So after that, where I was now like basically living for free, and I had all this money that's spent. London was just sort of hitting its stride. I bought 2 more properties immediately, pretty much. So like that was January refi, and then February and March I bought another one each month. So February was a duplex that I found through a wholesaler on Matt McKeever's team, Mike Nowicki.
Right.
So I bought that duplex for $215, $220, something like that. I can't remember. Right. And I spent a fuckload of money renovating that thing. I didn't know, again, like that was my first time working with contractors now.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of money there, but probably about $100,000 renovating those 2 units. Yeah.
Wow.
And I like looking back, it was a lot of money because now I can do units for like 20. So it would have been 40, 50,000 max. And I spent
what was it so high? Was it just because you had like a very expensive contractor, or was it just a lot of surprises, or what was the reason?
There's a combination of both. So the job took a little bit longer because kind of everything was wrong in the property, which I didn't know. Like I didn't know that we'd have to replace 100% of the electrical, 100% of the plumbing.
Wow.
All like it got broken into as well, which was great. Oh, okay. I also I split panels, which was an added cost. What else did I do? I also over renovated, and initially my plan was, because Airbnb was going so great for me, was to put these units on Airbnb. Right. They're like quartz countertops, super nice flooring, like nice fixtures, everything like that. So I spent money in there because I wanted it to be like premium Airbnb.
Gotcha.
Because it's like very, very close to one of the main like tourist attractions in London. It's called the Factory.
Oh yeah.
And then COVID hit, and guess what closed?
The Factory.
So there's no fucking people coming to do any of that stuff. So pretty much immediately I pivoted to long-term rentals.
Right.
And I got some really, really great tenants in there, fantastic tenants, and they're paying premium rents. At the point back then, $1,650 for a 2-bedroom apartment in London. It just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And I was getting that rent, and now that's pretty commonplace. That's what they're paying now. And then 1-bedroom basement apartment, 1250, was just absurd. Like back then, rents for 1-bedroom basement apartment was like $700,
Wow.
$800.
Yeah.
But they were very happy with the brand new everything, quartz, everything, like just premium fits and finishes, right? So
Yeah. You basically attracted the right set of, tenants, basically, right? There was a niche
right.
market for those executive luxury suites, let's put it. So,
That's right.
and you were able to get those guys in there, which is fantastic. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when it comes to renovations, you really just have to just analyze the market where you're situated, right? So you can't expect to have that kind of furnished places and then you live in like a really bad area, because I don't think anybody's going to be willing to pay that much money.
Exactly.
So yeah, the fact that you looked at where you're situated and then you saw that there's a niche and there's a market for it.
Yeah,
it paid off well, right?
It paid off in the end, but mostly by luck. Like I don't think I knew. Again, I still every day know I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But again, like
so it wasn't calculated risk then.
No, I was just like, no, I like Airbnb. I'm going to do Airbnb. And then it's like, oh, well, I can't do Airbnb. I have to do something else now. But one thing I did know is that I needed to run my numbers off of the long-term rental, not off of Airbnb income. So when shit hit the fan, which it did, I was still cash flowing on the property. Like, so that property brings in about $600 a month.
That's a very interesting analysis. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So basically the way you looked at your numbers was like, you pretended that was just a steady monthly rent if somebody was just leasing it versus because you're right. Airbnb fluctuates month to month. It's very seasonal.
Exactly. So like I never
as well, right? So you can have
you can't run your numbers off of that safely. Yeah.
It's unpredictable.
So I ran all my numbers fairly conservative. It was my second deal ever, right? So I was trying to be as safe as possible.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe too safe, and it ends up being phenomenal. So I'm very happy with that. The third deal in March was a shithole triplex. Again, triplex for $270,000.
Right.
So now that's absurd in London. Like land is $270,000 pretty much, or like 200 plus. Just a bare piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And so I was very happy with that. Shit tenants, but they always pay.
So I know those kinds.
super high cash flow on that place. I inherited those tenants and I had like kind of nothing I could do to get rid of them, but they were paying so well that I didn't really want to get rid of them either. So in that triplex, I didn't do anything at all. I spent probably $400 the entire time that I've owned it, other than like maintenance, outside maintenance.
So was it turnkey, or was it just you didn't want to do anything because it's already tenanted?
It's not worth it, man. It's just like everything I put in there gets ruined. So
okay.
Or everything that was there even gets ruined. So like the one guy in the front unit, he was just super high one day and decided that his stove has cockroaches.
Oh.
So he took the stove outside and took it apart.
You're kidding.
Look, so like I got a picture from his caseworker, and they're like, "So sorry, James, about your stove. We'll replace it. You don't have to do anything." I was like, "I wasn't going to. Like, this is not on me. This is absolutely ridiculous. What the hell?"
Yeah.
And so that's just one thing that happened. Another, what else? This other guy, he like was disassembling, or he was stealing bicycles from all over town and disassembling them in the backyard. And then one day people followed him and just beat him up.
Right.
Because he stole their bike.
Yeah.
And then so he was like in jail or gone for like a couple of weeks. I don't know where he went. And I got a notice from the city that like I have all these bike parts in the backyard that need to go away.
Oh man.
And it's like, this is just random, random stuff. But whatever. So,
yeah. So which part of London is that? Because I know that there's some really, shitty areas, in other words.
Every area kind of has their perks, but this specific property is down by like Wellington and York area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's closer to downtown,
not
from what
super
I recall.
downtown, but
yeah,
not super downtown, but just outside of that. I think
just
I don't know if that's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then so I used the refi money on that second property because it that was another, like, the first one refied at like 425. The second one refied at 400. and I bought it for 220, and I spent 100 ish, like all in, like that's including carrying everything. And yeah, so that 320 roughly is the refi at 400, right? So 80%.
So you basically covered it. Yeah,
and took that like extra 20 or whatever out.
Right.
If there was anything left, I can't remember exactly. But it was I didn't take very much out of there. Like I think I just basically broke even on
even
$0 BRRRR.
That's basically like infinity returns for you, because you put $0 in. Basically, you got a free property out of it, which is that's why I love the power of BRRRR. The BRRRR is just phenomenal.
Had no idea that like your wealth could grow so rapidly like this. Like I come from like a poor immigrant family, man. Like this is not something I ever thought that was going to be real. Right. So like the first time I ever heard that this was, first of all, like you said, legal, and then second, tax free,
right,
and then third, like extremely easy to do.
You can do it over and over and over again. Like it's unbelievable.
How do we not learn this in school?
That's the number one question I ask every day. I'm like, this is. It almost feels like it's purposely not taught.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like we don't learn
to be in the workforce.
Yeah, man. Like we don't learn tax strategy. We don't learn real estate investing or investing in general. We don't learn any of this shit. And now, like, you
don't learn
none of that.
Entrepreneurship.
Hell no. Like, you just learn. Like the closest I ever came to learning about real estate was fucking playing Monopoly. Like that's it. Like honestly, I felt great getting the
that's
rent.
The best game, man. For kids, like I'm just like when I have kids, that's all we're gonna play. Like literally, that and Cash Quadrant. I haven't bought it, but I think that's another good one I hear.
I've heard of that game. Yeah, man. Like I can't believe. So yeah, it's just life changing, right? Like in my wildest dreams, so like 2014, I just told my girlfriend at the time, like I want to drive a Tesla, and she booked like a test drive for us to go. Nice. And I drove that car and I was like, holy fuck, how do I get this thing? Where it's just like, this thing is literally a fucking spaceship. Yeah. And like you press on the pedal and your head slams back and like life is just like a blur around you. It's the best thing ever. And I was like, I need this. How do I get this? Oh, I can't afford a $150,000 car. All right. Break it down a little bit. What are the payments per month? Like $1,400 a month. Oh yeah, fuck, I don't want to pay that either. Yeah. So then I was like, all right, well, I know they're coming out with a cheaper one soon. I'll just wait for that cheaper one. And then the Model 3 came out. That's what I got. And I was trying to figure out how to make real estate investing pay for that. So I don't know, setting that one goal or target or whatever, and then just like finding, your brain just thinks of different ways to make it happen, right? Absolutely. If you're actually like serious about it, of course. Yeah,
you switch your mindset from, I can't afford it to how can I afford it, right?
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it. What I love about your story here is that you literally were an action taker. You weren't, all caught up in an analysis paralysis or sitting there reading books and for days and spending $40,000 conferences.
Maybe too much though. Maybe too much on the other side though, because I didn't know fucking anything. I just went to that one conference. Yeah. And I was like, I'm a real estate investor now. Let's do this Airbnb. Yeah. But so like for maybe other people listening that haven't taken any action but have read all the books, fuck your books. Put the goddamn books away. You know more than any of us do. Do something.
Absolutely.
Fucking go do something. Like that's about it.
Action, again, as we said, actions speak louder than words any day, right? It's good. Yeah. No, definitely. It's good to have a bit of background of certain things. Like you said, if you didn't go to OREC, you probably wouldn't even start in the first place. So have some sort of background of education. And then from there, please don't just waste your years sitting there on the sidelines.
Well, it's just a means of procrastination. Like, oh, I haven't listened to that podcast on BRRRRs, so I can't do a BRRRR. Dude, you can listen to it while you're doing the BRRRR. It takes an hour, and this BRRRR will take you 3 months, maybe a little longer. It depends how long you're going. The fastest one I've ever done is 3 months. So maybe you're faster than that. Maybe the banks won't let you refinance anymore. I don't know. But you can do it while you're doing it. Like you don't have to wait.
Yeah. Another thing I was going to say is for folks that are starting out, again, if they don't feel comfortable getting to that or they don't have the time, joint ventureship is the way to go, right?
Oh yeah.
Join somebody who's done it, who knows what they're doing, right? And then you learn. That's the best way to go. Instead of you spending that $40,000-$50,000 trying to go in these conferences, why don't you work somewhere with somebody and you have a piece of that pie?
Yeah. So like that 50 grand is part of a deal now, right? Exactly. So like some of my, I still work full time. So I was very time poor. And also like the London market at that point where I started, so joint venturing, it was like I had to go out of town. And I was like, all right, well, how do I only have 50 grand. Like, how do I buy a property with only 50 grand, 20% down? You have to buy cheap. And where do you buy cheap? If your market's expensive, you buy somewhere else. But I was too scared to do it by myself. So I joint ventured. So I was like, all right, I'm bringing all the money. My renovation costs are going to be covered by this line of credit. And I have 50 grand down. So we bought a fourplex together. It's Jeremy, Ivany, Taylor Sears, and I. So that was my first joint venture ever. We bought a fourplex, renovated it, BRRR'd it. So then it came back, I think, so 220's purchase price. We spent about 40 grand and refi is about 315.
Beautiful. There you go. And then how did that come up? Like, I mean, how did you decide that, Jeremy is the partner you want to go? How did you guys meet, or how did you get connected?
Yeah, man. It's honestly the most random thing. It's just like, we didn't talk about partnership. We didn't talk about fucking anything at all other than let's go get some nachos and beer.
Right.
And like we went out for nachos and we are just talking about like what we were up to and our different values. And then he just messaged me randomly. He's like, hey, there's this fourplex that I found off market. Do you want to joint venture? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But it doesn't mean like we're working together. He's like, yeah, it means we're working together. And he's like, honestly, I don't know what it means either. Cause like we had never done it. So then we're like, all right, we're going to do this. So we put an offer in whatever else. And then we're like, all right, let's figure out this joint venture thing. And so then it like how we structured it was I'm 100% of the money partner.
Right.
He's 100% of the active partner.
Gotcha.
So it was very easy roles to define there.
And do you guys have like a set term, like 5 years, 3 years, or like how did you guys set it up?
Yeah, we set a 5-year type of thing to figure out what we want to do after that. But we also set like other exit strategies and clauses like the right of first refusal or shotgun clause, whatever you want to call it, where if there's a bona fide offer on the table for the property, that other joint venture partner who isn't presenting the offer has the first right to buy it.
Right.
That's one method. There's buyout plans and strategies and whatever else, but realistically, like that's a property that I personally never have to think about. And now I know on their side, as the property managers, they barely have to think about either because it's just running really, really well. Yeah.
So you did mention something quite interesting here. So you did say you looked outside of London, and then what stood out? Why Chatham? What made you think,
honestly,
I'm going to go there?
I didn't know anything about Chatham. Jeremy's just like, hey, I found this deal in Chatham. I was like, I like you. Let's do it. That's it.
How did you know Jeremy, by the way? Were you guys friends before, or?
No, we met for nachos, man. That was nachos and beer.
Oh, that was it. So you guys just connected over Instagram and like, let's just meet up.
Yeah, we met, I think, at ONREIA briefly.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so sometimes that's what it takes. Like that's why I love the power of networking, because like you never know where things will lead, right?
But it's just like when you're in the mindset of like, I want something to happen, it will happen.
But I think what I'm trying to get at is it's also important to make sure you partner up with the right people with the right mentality, right? So if you guys did not get along, that's going to be very ugly, right? Because one wants to do something a certain way, the other one disagrees. So in your case, you're the money partner. Imagine if Jeremy just overspends and over renovates, right? It's like, what do you do in that case, right? So you definitely need to make sure that you guys are in at least on one page or understand each other, and your goals are pretty clear, right?
So that is actually super, super critical. So having the same values is the number one thing in my opinion. So like, for example, Jeremy and I are super aligned in the fact that when things are wrong, we're not just going to cover them up, we're going to fix it, and we're going to fix it properly. Exactly. And why do we do that? Because then we just never have to think about it again. With other partnerships that I've had, the value systems are misaligned, and we kind of struggle because the one partner wants it to be done differently. It could be maybe as cheap as possible, as fast as possible, maybe both. And sometimes that's not always possible in general. It has to, like especially with older homes, things just crumble around you as you touch them.
100%.
So it's frustrating, like being a money partner when you're not able to see why things are being late. And it's frustrating as an active partner where you're being held accountable for things you can't control. But one thing that I've learned is that you need to have extreme accountability on the things that you can control. And that's still something I'm working on. Like I am falling behind all the time. And that's something I still need to adjust and improve on.
Right. So when you say you're falling behind, is it just on the projects necessarily, or is it on like? So are you actively looking for partnership? Like, are you raising funds, or like what's kind of like your day-to-day look like? Let's put it this way.
Sure. So I still work full time, so that's a big part of my day.
Right.
During the day, every now and then, it's phone calls or texts or whatever, organizing contractors, organizing resources. That's a huge part of the day as well. In the evenings, it's checking to see what work was done, what's outstanding, and how far behind or typically behind we are compared to our projected. After that, it is like I usually just drive by a couple of the properties and see for myself, like, where are we? What are we missing? If there's people working on site at night, which sometimes there are, like doing demo or cleanup or whatever else, then just talking to them and making sure that they have everything that they need in order to succeed. Following up with contractors as well in the evening to make sure that they're not missing anything for the next day, start of work, that type of thing. So that's a pretty typical day to day. And then after all that's done, come home probably 10:30 normally. Like today, it's a little bit earlier. We had our call and I still was late. But after that, it's all the paperwork, replying to texts and emails that I had got throughout the day, and catching up on receipts and whatever else. So, and that usually goes until as late as it needs to go.
Yeah, no, for sure. It could definitely consume your life, especially when you have a full-time job, right? And I think that's one of the barriers that people think they have in life. You know, regardless, it's like you just have to put the hours. Like if real estate investing was easy, everybody will be doing it, right? The question comes like, why isn't everybody not doing it? Because people don't have the time, or they don't want to make the time.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to figure out what you want, right? Like for you and I'm sure we're thinking, okay, 5 years from now, this is where I want to be. Right, you have a goal in mind, right? Whether it's X amount of dollars, or whether it's like for financial freedom, where you can spend your money with whoever you want, when you want, right? So yeah, it requires sacrifices. It's not an easy train to just hop on and you're gonna get there, right? It definitely requires, but you have to just be focused on the long-term goal. Remind yourself, keep consistent on it, and and especially when you have a partner, whether it's your wife or your girlfriend, it's important to also keep that communication very clear, because it really hinder your relationship and whatnot, right? So and I feel that, and I see that a lot.
Yeah, and like one other thing that I think is really, really important when you are as busy as it can get is that you need to think about what you truly want. Like the things that you spend time on are the things that grow. So
exactly,
your family, your relationships, or whatever else has to come first, and everything else needs to fit around it. And I see a lot of other people, and including myself for quite a while, until I realized like I was really causing my relationships to suffer. They do all the other stuff first, and then when you're like, you fit the other, like the important, what I consider important, in, it's backwards, and that's not okay. Like that's not sustainable. It's not okay. So like a couple other things, like I'm still working on. I need to focus on my health and sleep. Like I'm eating healthy, but I'm not sleeping a lot. I'm not exercising a lot. So I just figure I'll just give all the inputs proper, like all the good food, and then hopefully the rest will just kind of figure itself out. But I need to pivot. Like I know that, and I just haven't done that yet. I'm procrastinating. I know that I'm procrastinating that, like that pivot. But I know that I make like good amount of time for my relationships, which is very important to me, and fit everything else sort of around that.
And that's key, because again, end of the day, what does it come down to? It's you investing in yourself, right? It's like, and I love that you brought that up, because we usually not talk about it, and I don't know why it's like such a conversation people don't even focus on. It's your health, right? Whether it's your mental health or your physical health. So I'm on the same boat as you, James. I went through that. Literally, I live in a condo, right? So COVID hit, gym is closed.
You don't go anywhere. Yeah,
I can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So for the past 3 months or so, I was just sitting at home, like felt like, low in energy, because what I used to do is I used to at least run every morning, right, during summertime. And when it got cold, I got, again, you make excuses in your head, right? There's nothing should stop you from, doing your running and whatnot. But anyway, so I started thinking, oh, it's cold, I don't want to go, it's too dark, trying to make all the excuses. Eventually it got to a point where my wife is like, listen, like, it's like, she's like, you're losing a lot of weight. Like I'm a naturally skinny guy. Like, so if I don't work out, man, I turn into a toothpick, right? And I don't even like that myself. It's a good problem to have, though. I'm glad it's not the other way around. But needless to say, I was not happy because I felt unhealthy, right? I felt low on energy, and for me, it's a domino effect because then it changes my mood, right? And like my productivity is low, and
your performance in general.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So she basically convinced me. She's like, listen, if you're not going to go do something about it, I will. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, so she takes me to this place. We go buy one of those dumbbells, that you can convert. Because I was like, oh, no, I don't want to spend like $500 on those. I have a gym downstairs. It's going to open any day, right? No, 7 months, man. Got a bench, got a dumbbell, and it's life-changing. Like I just literally wake up every day. I do my workouts. And like I said, like I try to meditate, read a little bit, eat healthy, and it's a game changer by all means. Like definitely makes sense. You have to invest in yourself. Like, what's the point of you making $1 million and
then you die?
And you die, right? Or it's like I was reading this book, and speaking of books, I know like you're not big on it, but sometimes it has some good like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying we're in a society where we're like, okay, I'm tired, but I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee. So you're gonna spend the money buying a cup of coffee to wake you up. Sure, that's going to help, but you're going to have a crash right after. Like, are you actually fixing the root cause, the problem, or are you just trying to pay for it?
Yeah.
Right? And
that's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
Right. Like you don't work out, you don't do your exercises. Tomorrow you have cholesterol. What are you going to do? You're going to go pop pills. How about you go do exercise instead, right? And go to the main like root cause, right?
So that's exactly where I'm coming from with the books. I know I'm giving books kind of a hard time. Like, and I don't get me wrong, like I love reading.
Right.
But it has to have a purpose. It has to have a reason, not just procrastinate your shit. But what my portfolio looks like right now, let's see. Duplex, triplex, the 3 4plexes. That's the 3 4plexes are joint ventures.
Nice.
The 2 duplexes and the triplex are solely owned.
Okay.
I have another 3 duplexes and 2 4plexes on another joint venture.
Okay.
And then I have 13 condos in another joint venture.
Oh, wow. That's a big portfolio.
It ends up being whatever that adds up to, 40 something units, 20 something properties, something like that.
That's amazing. And then you do this all in 1 year, basically.
Yeah, since like February 2020 or whatever. But when I was first starting all of this in general, and I like came from OREC, and I turned that unit to Airbnb.
Right.
And then I was like, I'm going to buy 1 property a year for the next 10 years. And then I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to retire. And it's going to be fucking great. Right. And then the next thing you know, I have 8 properties in like 4 months or 5 months. I was like, how the fuck did I even get here? I don't even know. But the thing is, like, it just took like every single day, just a little bit of action. Meet this person, or go do this thing, or like learn this one specific strategy, or take the time to like build your network in a different way. I don't have a lawyer that does this type of transaction, or I don't have this type of contractor on my team, or every day something, and then it snowballs.
Yeah, I know, for sure. So I think you touched upon it earlier. So are you, majority of your portfolio, are they all off market, or are you finding stuff on the market as well? What's your mix there?
I think I bought 2 properties on market, or 3, I guess, including my primary residence, which I did again. Like that was a Kijiji realtor, and the first fucking realtor that I found on Kijiji, and then a property that I know I overpaid for by like 20 grand, probably 10, 15, 20 grand, somewhere in that range at the time. And obviously it worked out in the end, but like I didn't know shit about shit, man. Yeah. Like, so that was my first MLS property. And then the other 2 were with Jeremy and Taylor. Right. But again, like great deals. They were just sleeping on MLS, but they just happened to be on MLS.
Wow. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like my point is like you could definitely find some stuff on market as well as off market. Off market, obviously, because you have less competition. But even now, what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing as well, is like even these off market deals have multiple bids.
Yeah.
James,
if you saw my list of like the properties, how many I've analyzed and how many I've basically just let go of, how many I've offered to put in, I lost, you'd be shocked. And I'm sure you go through the same exact side.
Yeah, man.
It's not always oh yeah, this is it. I'm going to put all my money in it and I'll pay 30,000 more just because I want this. No, you have to separate emotions.
Yeah.
Stick to your numbers. Stick to your numbers.
Exactly. Like we have those rules of thumb for a reason, right? To see if a property's even worth analyzing deeply.
Exactly.
But then you have to also put in the work to analyze it deeply. Like you're probably doing 50, 100 a day when you're really looking, right?
Yeah.
And like I can't really see myself buying like a duplex again or something like that, unless the deal was like phenomenal. So
yeah, and then that's what I was going to say. I feel like majority of our circle of friends and investors are starting to get to those 5s and the 6 and the 7s and whatnot, right? Because it just makes sense as scalability, right? You rather have one roof than 6 different roofs, and it just makes sense. The property taxes are lower too if you actually compare it per unit and so forth. So definitely, I mean but the funny thing is there's this very like few of those, so it's harder to find, and I think that's the struggle right now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough, and that's the key to building those networks, right? Because if you're front and center when say, hey, Ross is looking for eightplexes,
right?
Only eightplexes. Right. When an eightplex comes up, Ross is the guy to call.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta let know people. Yeah, you got to. Yeah. That's the thing. You have to be top of mind for sure. So so based on that, so like, are you planning on quitting your job?
I really like my job, and I'm so far very comfortable doing all of this stuff together. For now, like I'm comfortable staying at the work, like qualifying for mortgages if I ever need to, like a pretty decently paying job and whatever else. But on the commercial mortgages, none of that really matters, right? So the pivot into commercial is probably going to come at the same time as the pivot into not working full time.
Right. That's a very good point. Yeah, for commercial, it's more based on the income you bring in with the units versus what your personal income is on your T4, which is phenomenal. And that's why the ones that are in that field are prospering and growing, because they don't have to worry about that anymore, it's fantastic.
But in many cases too, like there are real estate investors that aren't doing commercial mortgages and they're also not working full time, right? So in cases like that, you're dealing with credit union type of lending, which is fantastic there. So you're building a relationship with the lenders directly, and it's a whole other ballgame there. So when lending with a credit union, it's like, hey, I found this deal, looks really good, great income. They're like, we like you. Here's the money. It's like, oh, thanks.
You don't want to see the deal? You sure?
So obviously, like that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it is simple in comparison to working with BMO or Scotia or RBC or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, and they're tightened up their lending criteria quite a bit. Like even getting a line of credit now is like,
oh my god, impossible.
They're gonna give it to you. Yeah.
No, hell no. It doesn't matter how much you make. Doesn't matter your DSR. Just no, we're not giving out lines of credit. Since your podcast is called Golden Nuggets, here's one for your listeners here. With Scotia, normally, what you can do is you can get credit cards. It doesn't have to be paid or anything, just any cheap credit card or free credit card, whatever. And then 6 months after you've had the credit card and you've obviously paid it off and it's in good standing, everything like that, you can roll that into an unsecured line of credit. So that's how I built my unsecured line of credit at Scotia, was getting credit cards. So I got a first credit card ever. Scotia was like $5,000 limit.
Right.
They asked if I wanted to increase the limit to 13 or 15. I said yes. And then I found out about the strategy. So I rolled that $15,000 from a credit card to a line of credit, unsecured line of credit. And then I got another credit card. And I did it again. And then it was a $70,000 line of credit that they fucking took away later on. But I got it up to that point through that strategy. So it might help someone.
Yeah, you were at least able to use it at that one time when you needed it, right? So that's all that matters. Yeah, so money was there when you needed it. And then, what I wanted to ask you as well, James, is I know you're doing some Airbnbs, right? For many of us, we were kind of we try to stay away from it because we find that we think that it requires a lot of our attention, right? It requires a lot of management, right?
That's sure honestly
some systems and stuff in place. Like, tell me a little bit more about that side of the business.
Sure. Yeah. So Airbnb allows you to automate a lot of things. And maybe I'm just not as good at automating those things in the rest of my life, but for Airbnb, man, I spent like 15 minutes a guest maximum. That's like the worst case scenario is 15 minutes of thinking about this person. And it's like a month stay. So 15 minutes in 30 days thinking about this guy or girl, whoever's there, it's fine. The co-host function allows you to sync up to your cleaner, and then you can just put them as like a view the calendar only type of thing. They don't see all the guest details and everything else, all the payments, everything. They just see the calendar, and then once they see the calendar, then they know who's checking in, checking out. And once they know who's checking in and checking out, then they know when to go. Right. So I don't tell them anymore. They just know as soon as the guest checks out, go clean.
Right.
And have it ready. That's one thing. The other thing is building your cleaner should know, like, if something's running out, buy it or tell me to buy it. Right. So that's another thing. And another, like automate garbage. Like my cleaners get rid of all the garbage all the time. What else? I have like the smart locks, so I don't have keys or anything. I don't have to be there. I have cameras on site, outside only.
Right.
If anything goes wrong, which things sometimes do, of course, then you need maybe a handyman. You need maybe a plumber, electrician, that type of thing.
Yeah. Do you have like a story of like a really bad guest that you had, maybe just trash your place, like partying, whatever?
Not like that. I have had a party that was very easy to shut down. It's the simplest texting them like, hey, I know you're having a party. Yeah. I'll call the police and get you to shut this down, or you can shut it down. What do you want to do? And everyone left. So that was one. Another, I still feel so bad for this fucking guy. So great dude, great Airbnb guest. His ex-girlfriend hunted him down on Snapchat maps or something. Like she found him somehow. Came from like Toronto or something.
No way.
And then she's like banging on the door. She's like banging on the like the window down here, like just trying to get into the house and like screaming outside and like, you're cheating on me and like all this other shit. He's like, I'm here for work. Like I don't and like anyway, so she started beating him up in front of the camera outside of the house. What? And then he's like, keep hitting me, like you're on camera, keep hitting me. And she looks right at the camera and I'm like, fuck. And then she runs up and like smashes the camera. Oh man. And that was a funny kind of story. He paid for the camera and whatever else, and he's like, man, I'm so sorry. And like he ended up like getting her to leave and whatever else, but he was a great guest. He left the place clean, he was quiet, he was whatever. She was just fucking crazy. So
wow. So yeah, make sure to turn off your notifications, guys, especially your location. That's man. Yeah, man, that Snapchat thing is creepy. I never turn that on. Like, I don't understand. Like, why does somebody need to know where exactly I am? Like, no. Unless I disclose it, there's no need.
Oh man. So yeah, that was probably the worst quote unquote experience where like my neighbors messaged me and like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. You know, because this girl's like screaming outside. For an hour. Because he didn't want to let her in. So that was the worst experience. But again, like the damage was covered by the guest. I didn't have to intervene with Airbnb or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. And how does it work? Like, I mean, in terms of the Airbnb, do they have like a percentage that they like charge you as a host, or is it just it's covered with the service fee that because the reason why I'm asking is we usually need to book, right? There's a cleaning fee, there's a service fee, and then of course the nightly rate. How does that work?
Yeah. So when I set a price, so I don't actually set a nightly price. I just set a range between high and low, and whatever happens in between there. Airbnb takes a cut of that from the guest and from the host. It's usually on the guest side, it's 10%. On the host side, it's 3%. So they make 13% off of every booking. Beyond that, there's the cleaning fee, and then there's taxes. So if you're making over 30 grand a year or whatever in HST, you have to have your HST number and all this other, and remit taxes and stuff. So you'll have taxes on top. If you're not, then you're not, and that's great.
Okay. So wow, as a host, it made it really, I guess cheap for you to
it's phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. For 3% is nothing, man.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's good to know. So for your Airbnbs, are you Do you have them as a corporation, or is it under your personal name? How do you have them set up right now?
So I have everything under my property management corporation. So the property management corp has the lease, and then uses that lease as rent. So I collect rent from my property management corp.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a steady monthly income that you can take to the bank, essentially. And that property management company runs the Airbnb.
I see. So it doesn't matter if you're the part owner or the owner of that corporation. Like the banks won't give you any hard, time with that.
It depends on the bank. It really depends on the bank. For some banks, they don't like lending to corps, not lending to corps, having a corp on a residential lease.
Right.
Some banks don't care. It really depends on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something to think about, because I know most banks will not count Airbnb income as income.
That's what I was going to say. That's the struggle, right? A lot of people don't go into that model because of that fear. But then when you look at the cash, though, the cash flow is phenomenal on Airbnb versus your normal monthly rent.
Yeah, it's like I just deal with the guest interaction mainly.
Yeah.
So guest interaction, I have a lot of automated messages there as well. Like check-in instructions is all ready to go.
Right.
A lot of automation in general is possible on the Airbnb platform. So
I know for banks that some folks, what they do is they mention this. They're like, they just get a lease under whoever their friend's name is or whatever, and just make sure that they get a monthly. But then, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, I'd rather not even involve someone else. I'd rather just deal with, you know what I mean? It's just like, what if something goes sour and your buddy's like, I'm not doing this anymore, or whatever, maybe, right? Yeah. You don't want to put someone else, or you want to drag someone else into your business. Like, I don't
definitely not endorsing mortgage fraud in general.
Yeah, it's just, I'm like, no. I'd rather go through at least the corporation method. Then again, it's fair. They know about it. And it's honesty is the best policy. And they always say that, especially in insurance. So like, just disclose, because if you have a property and then you're Airbnb it, if something goes down, the insurance is not going to cover any of that. Insurance
is actually critically important to get right. If your insurance, like if shit hits the fan, and your house burns down to the ground and you don't have insurance, holy fuck, your game is over.
That's it.
That's why I'm like, this isn't great, like doing this mortgage fraud nonsense. Like, don't do that. But like, if you do that, you can kind of like fix it. Right. But if you fuck up with the insurance, you're fucked. You're just straight fucked. Like, do not fuck around with insurance. Like, tell them everything. Tell them absolutely everything. Yeah. And
what does that look like in terms of insurance? How much are you paying, generally speaking?
It's not that much more
than just like
it's maybe $40 a month more.
Oh, that's nothing, man.
It's not that much more. Like $40, it's more than covered by the extra cash flow.
That's what I was gonna say. And then you have peace of mind. And
I don't have to. Like, I told him exactly. My broker.
Right.
I was like, dude, I'm running an Airbnb out of there. It's a 2-bedroom. Like, it's not party fucking like central or anything like that. I don't. It's all old people typically traveling, or like a couple. There's not more than 4 people ever.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, perfect. Here's your policy. Everything's covered. So
beautiful. Yeah. And then last question about Airbnb is like, because of what's going on around the whole world with the pandemic. Like, are you seeing that it's slowing down your business a lot, or are you still?
No, dude. Oh my God, man. It's the best year ever. Like, this pandemic's been the best thing for me for Airbnb, because people are staying longer.
Right.
I don't have as high cleaning fees. I don't have as high like wear and tear. Like normally, like I leave like a little gift basket out or whatever, like small things like that.
Right.
I do that. I don't know. I've done that like 5 times, because people are staying for a month, 3 months, 4 months.
Wow.
It's fantastic. So
yeah. And for people that are looking into getting into Airbnb, so are you a super host, by the way?
You become superhost pretty quick. It's pretty easy to do so if you have a strong listing and if you have like good ratings and reviews. So I think it's like 10 stays,
right?
Something like that, or 100 days, one or the other.
Okay.
And then your 5-star reviews or 4.9 and above, something like that.
Right. Yeah. So what I was gonna get at was, what are some good tips? Little tips and tricks here for people that want to do Airbnb. Like you said, like a little gift basket, or a little note, things like that, just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable while more welcoming.
Yeah. Just like my main thing, I guess, is make sure the check-in experience is flawless.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they have Wi-Fi immediately.
Right.
If you can do those 2 things, everything else is pretty good.
Yeah.
People genuinely want those two things badly. They don't want to be waiting outside for any, not even 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
That's
want
right.
Wi-Fi right away.
Yeah.
That's literally it. If you can meet those two criteria and everything else is good, like comfortable, you're fine. You'll be fine.
What about extra services like Netflix or Amazon Prime or things like that? You know, some folks have it, some don't.
Yeah, I don't do any of that shit. I just I have a smart TV, and in my check-in instructions, like you can log into whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I don't provide any of that. Wi-Fi, smart lock, that's critical. Cameras outside, for their security and also mine. Just make sure like there's no parties happening.
See, these little hacks are what makes it, your listing so amazing. It's just, again, it goes back to staging, right? You got to stage it nice, right? That's what sells. That's what makes people book. Like I've been through that experience myself. You're going scanning through like 40 different listings, but you're going to pick the one that you want, you feel comfortable. You want to get the sense of cleanliness and comfort. I think that's basically what everybody looks for generally.
Exactly. So like, comfortable beds. So if you have to choose where to spend money, beds and kitchen. Yeah. Like stuff people touch, right?
Yeah. Where you could spend majority of your time.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, is the living room, the kitchen, and then the bedroom. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, sure.
I know you touched upon the books there, but usually I ask is what are a couple of books that you could recommend for people to read?
I do like Thinking Fast and Slow and Slight Edge. I know we're kind of shit talking books in general, but those are some really good books. Another really good one is Blue Ocean Strategy.
Oh, okay, I've never heard of that one.
That's more about business. So when you're talking about like such a saturated market, and all the fish are being eaten by the sharks and the blood turns red. The smart shark, instead of fighting for all the scraps, will go to the blue ocean, the wide open where no one else is. Instead of fighting for deals on MLS, you're going off market. Like that's an example of a blue ocean strategy. Maybe now it's getting saturated again, so you have to find something else. Yeah. But that's kind of the idea. Instead of fighting over the scraps, what people are doing, do something else. Find a different strategy, whatever works. So
that's right. Just be innovative. Think outside the box.
Exactly. That's what the whole thing is about. Yeah. So that's a book that might be worthwhile for people to procrastinate on sometime.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned vacationing earlier. So if the borders were open and you can go anywhere out in the world, where would it be?
The most recent trip I did was Australia. I'd go there again. Kind of immediately there or Thailand. That was a trip I did a couple years ago. Both I'd want to go back and do kind of more. I usually save up all my vacation from work and take all of December off, and then I travel all of December basically every year.
That's awesome.
But
perfect time
like for both of those countries. I didn't feel like it was enough. Like I really want to go back and do more. So yeah, it'd be either or.
If there was one piece of advice you can give someone starting out, what would it be? Just one. Do
something. That's it. Like literally anything. For the love of God, do something. Anything. And like for people that are maybe struggling to write down their goals or whatever else, just I would say think about like maybe not your goal, but like what's making you unhappy.
Right.
And if that thing is making you unhappy, then your goal should very simply be get rid of that thing. And now you have something to work backwards from, at least,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You just have to kind of sit down and dissect. And I totally agree with that. It's like, if something's not working for you, why is it? Just ask yourself why. Simple question. It's just, you have to kind of dig down why. I know it sounds annoying, but like really, if you don't know the root cause, you're just scratching the surface, and that's not going to do any good. Yeah. For people that want to reach out to you, James, where can they find you? How can they get connected?
Yeah. Instagram is the best place. It's at james.ferns. I'm currently in the middle of, 8 or 9 units under reno, and it's always something random going on. It's fun.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, James. I really appreciate taking the time here to join us here. I know we got a lot of golden nuggets, and like I said, I can't wait to see what you turn your projects into when they're complete and done.
Sounds good, Ross.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you were able to get some great golden nuggets out of it. The kindest thing that you could do is share this podcast across all social media to help as many people as possible. If you like this podcast or have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or YouTube. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember, financial freedom is just a few properties away.